This is Between X and Z with Wallace and Dozer. We are at episode number 6. And you know what? This is going to be pretty broad. We're going to call this just relationships. The obstacles of relationships really at our age. And once again, you could follow us on Twitter at FollowX&Z, Facebook, Instagram, Between X and Z. Please, 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 we ask all the time. iTunes, find us, review us, subscribe. Let us know your thoughts. Get back to us. And here we go. All right, welcome to the show. I'm Wallace.
I'm Dozer.
What's going on?
None much, man.
I am myself getting ready for a big Asia trip with the lady. It's kind of fun.
Nice.
Been organizing since March, so it's ready to roll. It's one of those things. Traveling's funny because you can almost plan so much that by the time you're there, you're still thinking in that planning mode and you miss a lot. This won't be that way because I'm going to be traveling with my lady. It's going to be fun. It's our first international trip, but just really planning this week and kind of finalizing the details made me think a lot about millennials and relationships and really relationships in your 30s. I think it's a completely different world than when you're even in your 20s, late 20s.
Yeah,
You know
definitely.
what I mean?
Yeah.
It's
But
just,
how so?
It's weird.
What makes it so weird or different?
It's the fact that everybody is in a different mindset. Everybody's in a different world now. You have the 2 kids, the wife. I am not.
You're freaking me out, man.
It's almost like thinking about our podcast last time when we got into more tribes. You're building your own tribe, your own little trees and
a lot
families.
of responsibility.
There's responsibility, but you got your own world, is where I'm going with this. We're still kind of in our own worlds as single people, but together, obviously exclusive. It's just different when you're in your 30s than even a relationship in your 20s. There's a different feeling, there's a different maturity, there's a different mentality. It's all different.
Yeah.
Have you ever experienced anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's the plethora of man, because I think this is a man problem. I mean, of course, women have their own problems with our own take on relationships, but I think if I'm wrong, let me know. But what I think you're getting at is when you're in 20, no one expects you. Hey, you got to be a husband, you got to be a father soon, and not everyone has kids, but still, the husband, the man of the house, whatever the hell you want to say, and I know the feminists are going to beat me apart, but that is what most men are thrown into, right? Or put into. And I think that's the different dynamic of the relationship that you're talking about. When you're so when do you have relationships your entire life, right? Starting at early.
Preschool.
Yeah, I mean, your family is the first relationship you have, and then it goes obviously to friends that you meet. But you really don't get into deep relationships until, I don't know, 9, 10, when you really can, maybe younger, depending on your situation, but 9, 10, when you can really start.
I think it's connecting. You start connecting to people.
Yeah.
And
hey, I like Jimmy, I don't like Frank,
Yeah, Jimmy likes hockey.
Frank's kind of fucking weird, right?
Yeah, he's a weirdo. He just does, he watches anime all day, or whatever it is. I think the cool thing about being in your 20s is you can kind of...
He watches anime all day. Sorry, I couldn't let that one go. He watches anime.
I've never watched anime. I just
watches anime all day and jerks off. I don't like the kid.
Some people go the weird route and then they get addicted to games, and some people still do shit. But I just think in your 20s, thinking about the very first podcast when I said, your teens, you go through, your body goes through puberty. 20s, your brain goes through puberty. The Zach Braff kind of quote. You can kind of morph through different groups and people and shit like that. And when you're in your 30s, you can't really have too many phases. You kind of are done developing after 27. Yeah. You're it. This is it. The game's here. You saw how the rules are. Now it's time to play. It's just relationships fucking change. Look at how just being from a single person, being in a relationship in my 20s was just there. I think it came down to a lot of emotions. They weren't controlled yet. But when you're in your 30s, you do have to control it more.
But we got to go back. We got to go back because, right, like we just said that when you are young, you kind of start and build these relationships.
Yes.
When you start to understand, okay, we use that analogy. And then it kind of grows for a man, I think when he starts to date, when he starts to kind of get into that sort of thing, and women or girls at that time are of an interest, and then your friends change, right? Because it kind of goes into that, I want to hang out. Most people wear a mask. Like that's kind of, you wear a mask.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that, I mean, there's a lot of theories out there. That's definitely not my theory, but there's a huge self-help kind of market of that thing for men, where it's like
good movie too, Jim Carrey.
I like that movie.
Yeah.
I haven't seen that movie in a long time, but what was it? The second or third one? Was it the one with that fucking guy that did that Malibu? You ever see what's that guy? You ever see Malibu's Most Wanted?
Oh,
what's
Kennedy.
that guy? Jamie Kennedy.
Yeah.
I think he's in The Mask. I don't know. I thought he was in like Mask 8.
He's in everything.
Yeah, not very good. But these masks that you wear, what I mean, what is meant by that is you kind of, a lot of times, put this mask on of who you think you want to be.
Okay.
No, not saying you're a liar and a fake, but most men deal with this, and I think the men that succeed sooner remove that mask and really.
So like with dating, relationships, kind of that.
Everything. I mean, from the friends you hang out with to the girls you date to the way you interact. I think a lot of people wear masks and they fit in them, and when they break out of them and they finally go, hey, this is who I fucking am, and they get those healthy relationships around them.
Oh yeah,
some people
you're comfortable.
Yeah, some people never get that, and some people, I can tell you for myself, I'm just starting to build that. You start to hang around with people that you want to hang around with.
So you feel comfortable to remove a mask, basically, to bring down the shields or whatever it's called.
Well, first you got to realize you're wearing a mask.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, I think that's the big deal. I didn't realize I was wearing a mask when I was like, 13, 14, 15, right? You try to be tough. You try to be something else. You try to be good at sports. And it's not to say that you don't like those sports or you're really not tough. Yeah. It's just saying you value something that is much different.
So let me get a question, I guess, going into the personal life. What about, did the military make it difficult to have relationships? Friends?
Absolutely. Dude, the military for me still makes it difficult to have relationships. Yeah. And I'll tell you why, because I have been out of the military now going on 5 years.
It's not that long, though.
It's not that long, but I mean, in the lifespan,
sure.
The growth period I've went through, it's pretty long. But yeah, the military makes it tough, and I'm glad you brought that up because I probably wouldn't have. Just because it's so. I have a good friend. He's finally getting out, and you just deal with that a lot, right? Like I went to Iraq. Everyone thinks I'm like a war hero, and it's a very hard thing.
I wouldn't go to Iraq. So you did a lot more than I did.
But that's not like the judge, right?
Okay.
Like that's like saying, well, I went skiing. Well, you're in the Olympics. Not everyone that skis is in the Olympics. Just like not everyone that's in the military is a fucking war hero. Sure. Is this great? Yes, it was dangerous when I went. It was not what you think, okay? This isn't Saving Private Ryan. I wasn't in that. I knew guys that were. I wasn't.
Yeah.
So that was a mask. I don't want to say I wore that, but it was put on me. And it's very awkward to try to figure that out. And then you're right. I mean, the military warps you into something that everyone has to be the same. There's really individualism in the military. It's you got to have this you have like 2 haircuts you can have. You all somewhat look the same. Yeah, shorter, and nothing. So yeah, you're kind of. But that's a perfect example because it brings up. When I got out, I realized that I love guns, but I'm not a gun nut, right? Like okay. I'm not a guy that's like, let's go fucking shoot some shit. But that was kind of the way I had to be in the military. Because if you're not that, you're somewhat of a social outcast.
You don't want to be that in the military because guys, they voice their opinion from what I've seen.
Oh, yeah.
And it's,
But to be clear, it was not that I'm lying. It's just that there's phases of your life where you're kind of like, man, I wish I could actually do something or do this, but you really don't know it. And yeah, that affects your relationships, right? I mean,
well, especially like the dating aspect. And But even going into a civilian mindset and being in college and in your 20s, in the same sense, you kind of do have to mold to a place. Like
Always
I was
do.
an athlete, so I had to be with the athletes. You partied with the volleyball team, the baseball team, the basketball, whatever it was. You kind of mixed.
And the reality of it is, you might like to play chess on Saturday mornings. You know what I'm saying? And
I
that's
was sleeping on Saturday morning.
But I'm saying that's a weird analogy, but
it's the truth.
It's true.
Yeah.
And when you get into 30,
Ugh.
you no longer have to. You're almost at a point though. Unless you're a fucking loser, you're at a point where it's like, I'm going to hang around with people that I want to hang around with.
I think because you figured it all out, your brain is fully developed. You're finding like, you know what, I got this. So let's find out what we want to do. And thinking about this trip coming up and the relationship I'm in, and it's gonna. Some people can let these things fail and go to shit, but I don't think it's gonna be that way at all because we get along so well and it's comfortable and it's fun. And as you said, when you hit that 30 mark, you want to hang out with people you want to hang out with. I think at this age, you look at the dating scene now, it's crazy because obviously with the Tinders and all these different apps, people are more prone to stop something and not commit quicker than ever because you can swipe to the next one and have the opportunity to go out with somebody. Literally, when you stop the date, you could put your Tinder thing on, find someone else and go on another date the same night.
Yeah.
It's easy to just stop something.
But I have kind of a different opinion about that.
On the which one? The dating?
Well, just the commitment.
Yeah.
Because I necessarily don't think it's a bad thing. And here's why. Look at the fucking divorce rate. That's a real stat.
It is.
And people aren't, this is the thing I don't think people are less happier in their marriages. I just think women have more freedom. I think before
Both
divorce
sexes.
was this copy. Well, I mean,
freedom.
you almost say men have less freedom today than they ever did. I mean, and I know I'm going to get beat up for that, but let me finish what I'm saying. And that's not a bad thing, really, right? Like men in the early 1900s were scumbags. Not all of them, but these were guys that went home, barely saw their kids, and their wife was the
caretaker.
The caretaker. Yeah. Barely talked to her, barely cared what she said. Not everyone, but
slept in different beds sometimes.
Yeah,
they?
I mean, and was used for sexual purposes only.
Yeah.
And the man did what he wanted to do. And
it's not that long ago either.
It's not that long ago, but so we see like, oh, well, the divorce rate is crazy. Yeah, because we haven't really figured out what this marriage thing is. We haven't really figured out what a relationship is, because think about that. You just said it's not that long ago.
No.
A relationship, from my experience, and this is a guy that's fucked up a lot of relationships I've been in, and I wasn't able to admit that, not too long ago. I would say, oh, that girl's a slut.
Yeah.
That girl's a bitch. That person's this, My wife's naggy. My wife's that. But, when you just kind of take a look at some of the shit you do, you realize this is a fucking difficult road. Any relationship you're in.
Any relationship. Because I think it's easier coming from my end of still being single. And, I think I've learned both ends of the spectrum where it's always good to learn to be single and own that shit. Because I have a good friend that always talked about, if I was ever down about being single or something like that, I just probably won't find anybody, because you get older and you it's so hard to change your ways. I call them your filters, right? So you learn mistakes in the past and people fuck you over, and then you kind of start building these walls of filters, which I'm not saying I'm a cold person, but really going back to what you just said about it being a good thing to have the choice to move around. That's exactly what filters are, because you've been there, done that, like that alarm, that trigger, whatever it is, you're like, next. I don't even need to waste my time, which I fully agree with, because then you can find the right person. But I think that a lot of people see other people so happy with the social media aspect and the way that millennials present their fucking engagements and weddings and shit like that. People think they're not going to be happy with somebody, and they don't own the singleship. And I think you need to be able to own being single and then own being in a relationship. Yeah, both sides need to be taken care of at this age and being in 30s.
Yeah, and I just think, too, that's a good point, because there are commitment issues, right? I think there's also, I love the term you kind of coined. I don't know if you coined it, I think you did, but the grass is greener syndrome. It's like...
We'll say that between X and Z coined.
Yeah, because we've talked about it a lot with everything. And that, Man, if you haven't felt that in any aspect of your life, and specifically with a relationship, I just don't believe you.
You need to stop watching anime.
Yeah, I don't believe anyone that says that. You know,
absolutely.
I just don't. I think that person is not being real, because that happens every fucking day.
Go walk down the street,
and it's not to say like, I'm not just talking about a relationship. I'm talking about anything else. I want to be more rich. I want to be more in shape. I want to be better looking.
There's the Ferrari.
I had long hair, short hair, big beard, small, bigger arms, bigger legs. Whatever the situation is, there's this syndrome where we kind of always are, and social media amplifies that. Ugh. Not just social media, the internet, the mass consumption of knowledge that we don't know how to process.
It's a window. You're looking at this window to people you've never had it before. Used to be like, going back to the 20s, it used to be like keeping up with the Joneses as shit. You had your small window of like, there's my neighbor, there's the neighbor, there's the neighbor, there's the neighbor. I need a better car. I need a better wife, or whatever it was. Now you see fucking everything. Everything. You see people from your past. You see people in the current state. And I think that makes relationships hard, because you're almost peeking too far into people. And I'm not saying you shouldn't see around their mask, so to speak, but you almost see too much information to the point where you have no idea how to handle that relationship.
Well, I'm actually interested in something you just said, to see around their mask.
Mm-hmm. Or another personal life,
no,
whatever it is.
But to be honest,
yeah,
I want to see around their mask. Otherwise, I don't want to spend much intimate time with you.
So it's the same concept as the dating.
Well, to me, I mean,
friendship.
listen,
So,
I'll be okay with you.
Too.
We'll be cool.
Yeah.
We'll have a cordial relationship. But you want to get into anything deep? You want me to be there if you call me at 2:00 in the morning and say, dude, I need some help?
No.
I need to know you intimately.
So it's in a sense that with this technology now that millennials have, we have a way to do what dating does with guys, girls, whatever it is, with friendships. Because then you can see around the mask in that sense. That's fascinating.
Yeah.
We've never had that before.
Yeah.
And if relationships weren't complicated enough in your 20s and going into your 30s to start climbing the hill, they just got a lot more.
Oh, yeah. I mean, because you said 20s, right? I think the thing about 20s, for me, everyone has a different experiences. I thought I knew everything, and I was ready to take on the fucking world.
We all did.
Yeah, I mean...
I still do.
Well, yeah, of course. Well, because I do. My wife will tell you otherwise, but, when I was 20, if I didn't know something, I thought it's okay to be 20 and not know something. It's okay to experiment. It's okay to try things. It's okay to... there's no obligation financially. You don't have to be wealthy and make money or even have a career at the early 20s. You don't have to have much.
Yeah.
And then somehow society ticks. Tick, 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 tick. Now people want you to be, dude, grow the fuck up. You can't live on...
What are you, Peter Pan?
Yeah, you can't live on your couch anymore.
You can't do it.
Dude, you can't eat pizza for breakfast on Saturday, Sunday.
What kind of role model are you?
Yeah, I mean, and not only that, like, what do you plan to do with your life?
I hate that. I hate the 5-year plan question.
Fuck. Yeah,
that's the worst.
Let me tell you something, man. I think too many people focus on shit like that, and that's exactly why they don't go anywhere in 5 years. Now, some people do, and I think you got to do. I think there's things you got to do, and you got to learn. Because, I don't know, I'm still nowhere near... 5 years ago, this is why I don't like a 5-year plan. Let's just say I did it, 3 years ago. So I'm 3 years into it. No way I would have predicted where I was today.
No.
Either mentally, just the experiences I had, the obstacles I've had, the awakenings that I've had, and the ones that I still have to come. And I know that.
Yeah.
No way.
Well, I like what you said about, getting... How did you put it? You just put it brilliantly where, you have experiences that you need to do when you're in your 20s and you can fail. And really thinking about a relationship, that is exactly what the best part is. And I recently saw a stat that said that people that wait until their late 20s, early 30s, that's almost a sweet spot for marriage, that these are the ones staying longer because they've gotten their past failures out of the way, whether it is their career, And if we think about the money conversation we just had in the last podcast where people divorce because of money, it's almost like you find your path with your career, your hobbies, your likes, your groups, and then yourself you find, and then you're finally comfortable to remove any mask that you ever wore before and settle down with somebody that you truly want to be with.
Yeah.
That's a 30s relationship. And granted, you have high school sweethearts. You have people that have been together for a very long time at a young age.
Well, here's the deal. There's exceptions. But the rule stands. And there's a lot of exceptions. I do think, though, this is another thing that I think is bad about like technology and just kind of this ability to just kind of not lack a commitment. Because I disagree that people get divorced over money. Yes, I know that's a stat. Sex, money. I'm not, but let me go deeper into it because I know money's the issue. But the real issue is that they're not communicating. Show me someone that truly loves each other, and those motherfuckers don't get divorced over money.
And they're
not going to get divorced because they have a balance of life, and they're going through life, and they realize that the other person is a human and not perfect. Because I think that's the definition of 30s for me, at least for me. For going, I'm not quite 30, but the late 20s, 30s, that's the same thing. It's where people start expecting more of you. And you're kind of going, holy fuck, the water's rising, and you're almost to the ceiling, and it's like,
fast.
Dude, what's going on? But that's where I think part of a good relationship is to build with another person, not necessarily have it all figured out and then get a relationship.
Yeah, I think the teen relationships are funny. If I even go back to
they don't even make
years
sense.
ago, they don't make sense because I think it was just the tricky part of nature and the hormones and just trying to. The teenager phase is the worst. You visually don't look well. Your brain is changing.
Visually
so
don't look
you
well.
do not look well. I was watching a basketball game. And this kid, I'm gonna say, was on there for UCLA. He had pimples on his face. I was like, wait a minute, he's like 18, probably playing, red, whatever it is. He's just a superstar already. But thinking like he visually doesn't look well. His brain is still developing for another fucking 8 years or so. And when you are in your 20s, that is a beautiful time because you're starting. Those ugly phases are gone, and you can start getting into more of what you want. But the main issue I find is the controlling of the emotions. That is the hardest part, I think, for anybody is the jealousy. Look at all the college relationships. I don't know if you ever saw any. They were brutal.
But that doesn't go into college. That doesn't stop at college.
It's a heavy part of it, though.
I think it sparks there.
Yeah.
I think it sparks in school. It sparks in high school. It sparks in college, and then it just continues. Dude, I mean, adults are actually, I think, a lot worse than kids, man.
I mean, it's petty. Well, I think those are the ones that never explored and had those failures and experiences that have shaped and created the filters, as I call them, to.
But dude, that's a lot. That's a lot of people. I think that's more people than we're willing to admit. One of the interesting things is you just kind of, dude, you see a lot of people every day, and you just kind of look at some and you go, what's wrong with that guy? What's wrong with that girl? Or why is that person so angry? Why is that person so happy? Why is that person? And when you really look at it, it's like there's so many deep hidden things inside of that person.
Yeah, no, and that kind of gets scary because then those are the people that you essentially maybe don't want to hang out with, obviously, because they're not exactly where you are in life. I think that when you're in relationships, for me, a lot of things are timing, and when you're in your 20s, the timing is never going to be correct. Late 20s probably a lot better, but the early 20s, you got job things, am I going to go back to school, hobbies, they all change, and you can never get on that same fucking level with somebody. 18 was even worse because you could get dumped in a day, and you pick up a girlfriend the next day. You know what I mean? It was a joke.
Well, I just kind of had an interesting thought because you just said something. I don't know if it's that the people are on the same level.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's that the people have some sort of self-awareness that they're not perfect and that they need to change things. Because if you actually kind of think about that, that's what somewhat... because I was a jock in high school too.
Mm-hmm.
Wasn't the most popular kid. I wasn't a loser. I was a jock. But I wasn't like this crazy jock. So I was kind of in the middle. I was just a middle guy.
Yeah.
Pretty good at football, stuff like that. But you realize that a lot of guys they peak at certain stages.
Yeah.
They peak in high school. Then
Yeah.
there's guys that peak in college, and then there's guys that peak in after college,
Mm-hmm.
and they crash. I think the problem is somewhat peaking.
Yeah.
Right? Like life is an obstacle and it's a climb. And it's the same way to me, that's how that's how I'm trying to build intimate relationships, because I didn't do that forever. And I don't know if that's 100% the right answer,
Mm-hmm.
but I can tell you with my wife, it certainly has been.
Okay.
To kind of understand, hey, that I'm not perfect. She's not perfect. You expect the other person sometimes to be this certain way or this certain understanding. Same thing with friends.
Mm-hmm.
But what I think you really hate, at least I hate, is when you see people kind of act as if they have everything figured out.
No, they don't.
But a lot of people are like that. Like a lot of people are like, oh, I have my way, I have my understanding, and it's like, you don't got shit.
Mm-hmm.
You have nothing.
For me, I think we'll talk about this on a later cast, but psychedelics really do help. Removing that kind of mask or those walls, and I think make you better in relationships in total, because they just, you remove all these kind of preconditioned ideas of what you have for people, and you can just be. And that's the hardest part, I think, in being in a relationship, is handing yourself over to somebody. And when you're in your 30s, it's even harder, because look at all the failures that a lot of people have come into and have seen. And girls start following this. Guys, too, they start following the same type of women, men, whatever it is, and they keep running into them and keep making the same mistakes. So it's almost like people are more timid to give themselves over later in life.
Yeah.
Because they're scared as fuck of what that person has seen, and a fear of rejection.
Well, it's vulnerability.
Very vulnerable.
Yeah, I mean, but every relationship's vulnerable.
Yeah.
I mean, every relationship, and it's weird, because that men and women couldn't be any more different. Men get together and they just talk about sports, bunch of bullshit. Women on occasion,
Bullshit.
but it's fun bullshit, and that's
Absolutely.
that's how we kind of are. And then you're expected to merge life with this opposite sex that is just...
It breeds vulnerability that will emit the emotions. Thinking about the caveman days, I was reading why men are obviously less vocal than women, and the easy concept that we'll probably need a lot more research, and people could throw me a link or whatever it is, but the hunter-gatherers, the men needed to not talk because you're hunting. You need to be quiet in the forest or whatever it is, and the females actually develop more communication skills than us because they needed to share the gathering information. So yes, you need to go 2 trees this way, take a left at the berry tree, and then there's your whatever plant you're finding. So they got very good at communicating in groups and being fine and being open, and men were grunters. We went in sweat shacks. We went out hunting and came back and didn't say shit because we just fed everybody.
Yeah.
And that really, in the tribes, that has carried over to a certain extent. It's not very, we're very different. As you said last time, we're very far from that.
Well, I mean, it sounds reasonable to me. I just think sometimes we use that tribe thing way too much, because
It's a crutch.
there's thousands of years in between there
long
too.
time.
You know,
Yeah.
I mean, because when we were in tribes, there's another thing, like a lot of them mate, but they also fucking just cheat on each other and do shit. I mean, there's a bunch of crazy things that happen when tribes too. That is it's just human behavior.
I bet Chris Ryan could talk to us about that.
Oh yeah. I mean, but I think the real problem with men is though, is that we have no understanding of really how to do our role in society.
Well, the way that we're put in society now, it's almost like we're, how they have like fat shaming. there's man shaming, and I
110%.
reference South Park all the time.
Listen,
they make fun of that.
My sister-in-law, she called me cisgendered. And I didn't know what it meant.
I'm laughing.
I didn't know what it meant when she said it to me. I still actually don't really, or when she told me that, I just thought cisgendered. Cyst? Like, are you calling me like a fucking ball of pus? I don't know what you're saying. Yeah, like, and then I looked it up, and it's it's basically someone. I mean, it's the dumbest fucking word. Honestly, I don't know how someone made this up.
Yeah.
But this is just butchered version. But basically, it meant you are the gender that you are. Is the way I understood it. It's like, you're a man, you act manly.
Yeah.
And I just thought, like, what the fuck are you talking about?
I bet Peterson's ears are ringing on the Joe Rogan cast.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, because
he went into this,
it's logical, man.
Yeah, yeah.
And the thing, I thought it was a good cast. I know some people had different opinions, but the thing that's interesting to me, whether you get into it deeper, we're forced to do shit. And we're forced to kind of think a certain way and be a certain way. No one really talks about. I'm not saying women don't have a struggle, so I'm not even getting into that. But see, that's part of the problem is the fact that you almost have to even say that. Like, oh, I'm not talking about.
You got to give your trigger.
I'm not talking about
alert, right?
women, or I'm not talking about a different race. I'm talking about every race, black, white, yellow, purple. It does not matter. Yeah. Every man pretty much deals with some of these problems where it's like. You're expected to be a man in certain situations, and then you're expected to act and understand everyone else in other situations, right? Like, and then we're supposed to be somewhat shamed for like man strength, and some women could kick our ass, but you know what I'm saying? Like, dude, the average woman will get her fucking ass whooped. It's not mean to say. It's fact. It just doesn't make any sense to me. So you kind of, it's a weird struggle, man. Like, I wonder how kids, obviously our parents did it because it was a different generation.
Yeah.
So I actually don't think this is one of those things like, what's the time? What are the youngsters going to do? I think it's like a real thing. I think it's our age. I think it's up to like 40 even.
Think about your kids. Like, look at what I gave my reasons for relationships being different in your teens, your 20s, and then your 30s. Think about what your child is going to go through in the teen phase. Mm-hmm. You have look at the culture, which is I fully agree with. Working in education, you have we have like a kind of a safe space type thing for not safe space like that way, but in a sense of like abusive relationships, verbally abusive, physically, shitty people that it could be just friends or spouse or whatever it is, but. The act that they had, do you remember that Dave Chappelle show skit where he had people sign consent for sex? Like, you needed to do that. And then now they actually have that where a female would need to check how drunk she is on a male's application, because the male is going to get, of course, he's the first one that should not be in this situation. Even though they both clearly have agreed to drink. Granted, education and rape and women, not a good history. Fully agree with some of this shit, but... Think about how far it's gonna go.
Of course, yeah.
Your, child grows up.
I think when my kid grows up, universities won't exist the way they are today. The way they are today, they're not sustainable.
Where I'm going with this is, what about relationships? The shit you build in your teens that lead in your 20s with a college relationship, and then go in your 30s. It's kind of vital to like a progression, but now it's like, what the fuck is gonna happen? I have no idea what's going to happen.
Man, I don't know. We could sit and kind of think, and some people might say, you guys are getting way off topic from relationships. Dude, no way.
It's changing every day.
No way. I mean, because here's why is I think people, listen, we're not just a man podcast, but I'm a man, so I'm not going to speak on the women's side. Women got their own shit too. I mean, I feel bad. There's a lot of things women have to go through, and does every woman want to be a mom? Does every woman? No. Does every woman want to be married? No. I mean, does she doesn't want to? Maybe she wants to be promiscuous like a man and stuff like that. So there's societal changes like that.
Yeah.
I'm not here to talk about that because I can't. I'm not a woman. But as a man, I do think we put men in a box and expect them. to do certain things or know certain things, and it's like, yeah, I mean, I don't even want to get on college rape, but are you fucking kidding me? Somewhat, like I get it. There's rapists. There are scumbag dudes. If we haven't figured that out, I mean, just take a look at history. Yeah. Okay. I mean, but there's also guys that are just trying to get laid, and girls that don't, and regretted it. Is that not a fact too?
It's the Rogan thing where he's like, boys like girls, girls like boys. It's a very even field, and I've been reading studies lately on like women's sex drive and how it's even almost stronger than a male's in society. And now we're at a point where women can express that without being called the slut, or you have this kind of Sex in the City. I'm gonna use Sex in the City syndrome for women who. There's a funny Mad TV skit about it. Like he talked about, like, you women are all so smart and in control of your lives, but they're being promiscuous and all that stuff. It's just funny because it used to be women are slutty. Now they can do whatever they want, which is awesome. I fully agree with it. But you are right. Men are still put in this fucking box where we can't. If we still do it, we're a womanizer, a man whore, whatever it is. But on the other side, you can't say anything bad.
Think about this
else.
too. We're talking strictly. Sexual stuff. I think it's kind of weird that we put men in this rape culture. But I just drove here, and I saw a billboard of a girl in basically nothing. So we're marketed to as like ooh big tit ooh like these fucking apes and monkeys that just react to sexual stuff.
Sure.
And then, pornography's out there. People are saying, well, why are you bringing that shit up?
Look at Victoria's Secret commercials.
But look at everything. Look at a Carl's Jr. commercial.
Paris Hilton one.
Yeah, it's some chick in nothing eating a burger that's 1,000 calories. Yeah. And we wonder. No. Here's the thing. This is what some feminists say. Well, is that an excuse to rape? Of course not. No. Just because a girl's wearing something and even, promiscuous, she could wear what. It's not an excuse to rape. But what we're doing to a culture is counterproductive to me.
And I like what you said a little bit earlier was, we not even just being put in a box, but you. What are we supposed to do? You know what I mean? Like, what are men supposed to do other than kind of being just a dude? Do you really need to have shame to be a dude in society today?
Absolutely.
Yeah, apparently we do, because
you have to not give a flying fuck.
Well, that's what it is. You have to disconnect from all the social media platforms that are telling you you're a bad person because you were born with a fucking dick.
Yeah.
That's apparently a bad thing. And, being in this box, we just have to... if I think about a relationship, I think that it should be equal. For me, it's 50-50. It's pretty easy. Especially today. It's not the 20s where you go home and you're the breadwinner and you don't talk to your kids and your wife barely speak. You sleep in different beds.
There's days I wish that, though.
Well, I'm not there
Not sleep in different beds, but there's days I wish it's like,
turn it all off.
Dad's watching his ball game. Leave him alone, kids. He gets mad when he has 10 beers.
Bring him a nice cold whiskey.
Yeah, he gets mad when he has 10 beers.
And I'm not.
Of course,
there
I'm
yet.
joking.
Yeah, but like, you know what's crazy is it's people think that that's a bad thing for a man to have man needs or whatever it used to be called, right? And now it's pushed away. We can't have those anymore.
Well, it's just it's just
sexist.
It's just like this, and I hear it, and it fucking makes me angry. This men make more than women. Like that was in the damn campaign, the presidential campaign this year. People talked about that.
The 70 cents per dollar one or whatever it is.
Are you fucking joking with me? I mean, has anyone looked at has anyone honestly looked at the data or even thought?
A lot of articles out there.
Or even thought. Because, I'm sure there are some sexist assholes or some racist people. All that stuff exists.
Yeah.
But we sometimes take that because we see things as knowledge and we assume it to all masses. I mean, that's really what's happening. Like, every white male is a racist, a rapist, and is completely sexist. No, some are. Most, no. Most don't know what the fuck's going on and are just trying to live a life. Yeah. And are like, I don't know how I feel about that. Yeah. And it's, and just it's just a weird thing. You know, and I mean, and black people are dealing with this in their society too. Is like, because there's a lot of people that are rioting or doing this stuff. It's like it's a race war. It's like, no, there's just a little of this stuff going on that's mass produced.
They came up on the, I forget her name, is that lady she's a bigot and a really shitty person that has a lot of followers, and that Trevor Noah guy from The Daily Show. Interviewed her, the blonde lady.
I don't know who that is, but I know Trevor Noah.
But they had this like really intense conversation. And he was just, she tried to like bash the Black Lives Matters, that like saying that, well, their protests end up turning into like riots. And he goes, that's like a few of them. That's not the entire message.
Yeah.
You're getting this wrong. And what you just said is exactly that. We think that it's all in the same masses.
Well, you'd almost say that this is exactly how this thing started. Because, I mean, look at look at Ferguson.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know, man, but from the facts I heard about Ferguson, the guy robbed a liquor store and attacked a cop. Where I'm from, you get shot. White, black, Asian, it does not matter.
Yeah.
Now, I'll tell you, the guy in New York that got smothered for selling cigarettes, that's disgusting. That's fucking disgusting. And I'm originally from New York, so I totally get it. It's the shittiest state in this fucking country. They are close to a Third Reich regime. Really, they try to outlaw soda. Like, who the fuck are you? I mean, I don't think people should drink it either, but I don't believe in outlawing things. You know, and it's just like that guy got killed by cops for selling loose cigarettes. I mean, in a state that cigarettes are like $20.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like, I just think you take Ferguson, where a legitimate, I don't want to see that kid die. I don't want to see him die.
Not. His
family didn't want to see him die. And I'm sure as shit, if he could have changed what he did, he would have.
Yeah.
But here's the deal. That Ferguson cop, he didn't want to die either. Now, that's a weird issue. Yeah. I'm not even going to get into it. I'm just saying, from the facts that I see, it doesn't make much sense. It doesn't make much sense why we're rioting about that. Now, the facts in New York, 100, they should have fucking rioted every day there. A man died for selling loose cigarettes.
Yeah.
I mean, just think about that. We could say whatever you want in Ferguson. Well, the cop should have shot him in the leg. Okay, well, that's not how training is. Well, he robbed a liquor store. Okay, well, does that mean you deserve to die? When it came in a cop, whatever. But it is weird, and I don't want to get off too on a tangent with this. But the point is it kind of goes back to, we're stuck with these things that we hear little bits of, but it's so powerful. Yeah. It turns into movements. It turns into things. And I think that's truthfully what's happened a little bit with this rape thing.
Yeah.
I mean,
just relationships. Thinking about the original, obstacle here is, how are you supposed to have a relationship right now with all these little things going on, like you said, with the rape cultures and anything that's portrayed in the media, and what do they call you,
cisgender. What a sick word.
How are you supposed to, I'm thinking of your children and my future children, is how are you supposed to teach what you've been taught when it was okay in your ear? I'm not saying that I was taught to beat a female or whatever it was. I'm just saying I know how to do relationships now. I have no idea in 10 to 20 years.
But let's be clear. Most people know that that's not okay. Right? Like,
do they, though?
Know that it's not okay to hit a woman? Maybe some ignorant assholes, yes. Yeah. But I'm a majority guy, and I think the majority know to not rape a woman.
Yeah.
I think the majority know to not hit a woman.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do. I really do think that.
So do you think like?
But I'll tell you, this is hang on.
Yeah.
I just want to hit the hitting thing, because I want to know your topic on this, and I'm gonna get destroyed on this. But this is exactly what Peterson was saying on Rogan.
Mm-hmm.
So what if a woman, out of nowhere, you're at a bar, you're out drunk, you're both drunk, she just punches you right in the fucking mouth? What are you going to do? What can you... I'm not going to ask you what you do, because that puts you on the spot. What can you do?
What's the whole, I think Rogan talked about it a while ago, is, if somebody like Ronda Rousey did that to me, that could break my jaw.
You're fucking... Yeah, I mean...
You're done.
But here's
you should have a defense.
I think should have a defense.
No,
of course you should have a defense.
Well, no, I took 2 years of Krav Maga, and I do love it.
Break that bitch's wrist.
Well, that's what it is. It basically, there was no gender in Krav Maga. I trained with a lot of women that could kick my ass.
Of course.
They absolutely did in training, and I learned a lot. obviously different points to hit when you're fighting, but the main thing was somebody attacks you or a friend, gender was no option. Granted, there's certain situations where somebody's small, they slap you or whatever it is, or there's situations.
Well, like my son. If my son hits me and he's angry, so like you're not just gonna beat the shit out of him.
That's 100%.
You're not gonna hit him back. But here's I know I'm gonna get beat up for that, and I don't care because it's about the topic.
Mm-hmm.
It's really about the topic, and I'm not suggesting that if some girl slaps you, you should be able to knock her the fuck out. But what does that do to a man in society? Basically, just think about a white man. White men have white privilege. We're cisgendered. We're over masculine. Mm-hmm. And we're rapists. We're sexist. We're racists. We're all these things. But also can't defend yourself. You in a relationship or a sexual relationship, you are the aggressor.
Yeah,
you are the aggressor, 100%.
That's a big word. Yeah.
And you get paid more. And that's ridiculous. All these, it's just like,
well, there's your box. There's the box.
But the real problem is, I don't think it's what are we going to do. It's how are we going to stop this from younger generations. And where the thing is masks. Because I am a firm believer. I mean, again, that's not my science. There's shit out there about this. Mm-hmm. There's a real good documentary on Netflix. I think I said that before on this podcast that kind of just talks about how basically I've heard this before. It's about, masculinity as a societal concept or construct or whatever the fuck that word is. And there's parts of that I actually agree with. Because I don't think every guy's tough. I don't think every guy wants to play a sport. I don't think every guy can win in a fight. I don't think every guy is a hunter. Mm-hmm. Right? If we're going back to the tribal period, yeah. I think it's some guys, hey, stay back there, and that's okay.
Go build. Go heal. Go do something.
Go do what the women did. Go do something. I mean, and it's just the same way as not all women are homemakers. Mm-hmm. Not all women are, ignorant housewives and cleaners. And it's not to say, I'm not saying housewives are ignorant. I'm saying that's kind of how they were looked at before. Is they were just to take care of the kids or help.
That was
it brings some points up that I thought were fascinating, and I just want to get your topic on it. One is like, what do we do to a little boy that's playing a sport? Say, he gets it. Hey, get up! You're not a pussy. You're a man.
Yeah.
You ever hear that on the woman field?
No.
No. I mean, it's like, hey, good job.
They actually just watching like a women's soccer game. They still say like, in sports, you say like somebody's on you. Usually it's like man on, man on, man on. They say that in women's sports. You watch like the women's national team for soccer, which is an awesome team. They always say like man on, man on. But they're standing up for their rights with money and all that. It's a separate issue. Unfortunately, it goes into sponsors, and not many big corporations want to give money to that type of sport. But
you talking about women's sports?
Yeah, and it's unfortunate, but and I see what they're saying. They're playing this same sport, and you know what? They dive less than the men, which is funny. You watch the South American football team, soccer team, they dive way more than like a women's team.
Yeah, but I don't know if that's unfortunate. I think it's not a market.
It's like
women's hockey. I love watching women's hockey when the Olympics come around,
and it's getting better and better, which is cool to see. But really,
but there's really not even there's barely a market for
there's nothing.
Hockey.
That's what it is. Yeah.
I mean, so it's like we don't really women's basketball.
Yeah,
I'll take LeBron James jumping over bitches. I mean, I'll take that. They're extreme athletes. Women are extreme athletes too, but it's just it's different. It's different, man.
But like you said, like, what do you do with your son? I think you just there's a funny How I Met Your Mother episode where Jason Segel is Marshall, and him and the girl that was in, I forget her name. It's rude to say this, but she was the band camp girl from all the American Pie movies.
Oh, I don't know.
She's funny. She's a good actress, and they have a kid, and he's coaching basketball. And there's a funny episode where he goes in and he goes, okay, so like, what's the score? And the ref goes, there is no score. And he goes, what the fuck are you talking about? There's no score. And he goes, no, everybody's going to get a medal. Everybody wins. And he's like, that's not going to teach you anything. And it was cool because he was struggling because his dad was really hard on him to then how am I going to teach my son in today's world where you have to, everybody's like equal and stuff like that. It's a really funny episode because it's unbelievably true. So going into your question, I have no idea how I would respond to that. I would probably I have no idea. I have no idea. And I finally...
Well, hey, let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
A small man hits you. What do you do?
Defend myself.
I'm sorry, but why is it any different?
There's no difference.
Now, again, we're not just talking about
Violence
it's okay to
should
hit,
not
but
happen, yeah.
here's the thing: it's not. That's the thing we go to. It's not okay to hit.
Yeah.
Oh, it's not okay to hit. Well, of course, it's not okay to hit a man. I mean, if you fucking just straight up punched me, I mean, there's something wrong there.
Yeah.
One, you're an asshole, and two, what the hell just happened? What's going on here? But if someone hits you, I don't know why you can't defend yourself.
No, and I mean, look at Ronda Rousey's book came out, and it got a lot of scrutiny because she talked about domestic violence where she was hitting her old guy. And I think he was the creep, what she called him, because he, like, took pictures of her when she wasn't looking, which is shitty. I get it. But she physically assaulted him. She could have taken him to court, gotten the pictures removed or whatever. She could have done it a more civil way. But that didn't get blown up.
Let me ask you a question. Have you ever been in a fucked up relationship where the girl was batshit crazy?
Yes, but
Did you ever hit her?
No.
Okay.
And vice versa, never gotten hit. So it's...
I've gotten hit, but nothing to cry home about.
Yeah.
I've gotten shit thrown at me, which that's a whole different issue.
That's still even kind of the same concept. And what age group was this?
Oh, early 20s.
Yeah, see, I think there's something there. And I actually finally remembered.
Something there is don't fuck with crazy people and don't put up with too much shit, because that's what I did.
But the good thing is you made your mistake with getting these people, staying with these people for as long as you did. And, you know, I thought about what you were saying that clicked with me was, you know, when just to kind of finalize that rape culture thing, women need to make mistakes too. They just can't pull that card. And that's the shitty thing that there even is a card that exists.
Yeah.
But like you said, if they sleep with a guy and make mistakes, they can't just call that it was rape. Two people equally got drunk. They found each other at a party. It happened. It sucks.
And it's a tough one.
It's a very tough one.
Well, it's a tough one because, I mean, I do believe if you're a rapist, fuck you. I mean, I do believe that.
Yeah.
But I am under the impression that the majority of guys are not rapists. They're just stupid.
And as is the girls, and they made mistakes.
But I mean, I'm sure there's guys. I've never been this way because just, I don't know. Not that I'm noble. I just never was this way. But there are people that are, I mean, we've all met them, dude. Mm-hmm. The douche that's kind of a very aggressive sexually person towards women. He changes crazy when women are around. And he's borderline, okay, stop. Like, you're being fucking crazy, man.
Oh, yeah.
There are guys like that. I don't think that guy's a rapist. I think he's insecure.
He's just a douche.
He's a douche.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's a tough one. We're not going to solve that, but it is interesting. And we probably got off on a way big of a tangent there. And I don't care, man. I think it's important. Because I don't have it all figured out, but
with relationships,
all of it, man. Life as a fucking man is a difficult thing. Yeah. I just know that. To me, it is about wearing masks. I think everything you've ever had is about wearing a mask and not really being honest with yourself and the people around you.
So what happens when you say that you have started recently removing the mask, which is coincidentally when you're starting to really climb the actual hill of being in the 30s? Is it the fact that, you know, is it the teen phase and the 20s phase finally combining in your 30s as a combination of both of those, and you figured it all out? And, you know, I think I've talked about this once or twice, but it's the best time to be, because you've figured out, the majority of people have figured out the career. They have a little more money to be comfortable, but you still are in, if you're doing the right diet and exercise, your body's still able to do shit, and you feel like you're in your 20s and even in your teens, but there's something different about it.
I certainly don't think you have it all figured out, but this is exactly why I don't think money buys happiness. Uh-huh. Money buys, happiness is a subjective. Money, I'm going to call it joy. I don't really particularly like that word.
Yeah.
But joy and happiness are somewhat of the same thing, because certainly, man, no, I don't think anyone has it figured out. I really don't. I think there's people that got really, really good situations, and I'm not saying that they were handed it, but I think there's people that learn quicker, and those people succeed.
Yeah.
The people that learn quicker succeed, but they might not learn everything on their life.
So learn as in like take off their mask, figure out what they're going, kind of that whole.
Yeah, and I think, I don't know, for me, there's people I meet like that, and I go, I mean, all of them, male and female.
Mm-hmm.
I just go, boy, you know, you're not a perfect person, but man, you got a lot together.
Yeah.
You understand things.
Yeah.
You're smarter than just a book, right? Like you meet those people that are like, oh, I'm pretentiously smart, and it's like,
read.
yeah, you know everything about fucking, economics or history or finance, but you don't know shit about being a person.
Yeah.
You just don't know shit. You don't know how to operate. And that's vice versa. You can make a ton of money and not know shit and how to be a good person. You can actually be stupid and make a ton of money.
So do you think like even kind of mixing these podcasts of 5 and 6, being a good person, do you think it has to be, before you can have a successful relationship, you yourself have to be completely balanced? Not completely balanced, but to the point where...
No, I don't think that.
So do you think people go into relationships...
Fucked up.
Yeah, broken
Mainly,
in a sense. Where...
And I think that's actually what makes it hard. I don't know. I'd love to know what you think, but I think that's actually why we're doomed on a lot of level.
Who's we?
Just
men or
no, women too.
Everybody? Okay.
I think I think it's the fear of being perfect, right? I think it's or that knowledge of that you can be perfect, right?
That social media image.
Yeah, because part of a relationship to me is a struggle, right? And what does that other person do for there? It's just like a friendship, but see, as a friendship, we don't look at them because you don't have sex, Thank God.
It's not the intimate one.
But you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
What is intimate? I come
physically. Like,
it's not physically intimate, but I think that's an important distinction. I mean, intimacy is just understanding me and I understand you.
It's a very open.
Yeah,
openness.
Yeah, I mean, physical intimacy. Of course, you're not physically intimate with your friends.
Yeah.
But think about how you are with a guy that you really trust, right? Or just a friend you trust or someone you understand. It's that 2:00. You're not afraid necessarily for them to see your ass. I call them 2:00 in the morning friends. Because you generally only have a couple of them.
In French culture, they talk about you only have one handful of true friends. That's it. You can only count your true friends on one hand.
Yeah,
which I agree with. But if I think about anybody that has really helped me throughout any of the phases of my life that I've been through, which is up and down, you have people that what's funny is that it's not even just your words, but they can see your behaviors and they know right away.
Yeah.
That's what makes a good friend is
that's
they
intimacy.
See through that shit. No, it's absolutely
that's intimacy,
which is great.
And you build friends along the way. I mean, I think there's friends that in my 20s I like them, but it just doesn't work for me anymore, and they know that too. And it's not saying I just gave up on them, but it just mutually doesn't work. All we end up talking about is how awesome the old days were. And it's like, dude, we're not in the old days, and I actually need something different.
Yeah.
Vice versa, though. I'm not able to give that to them, and they're not able to give that to me. It's an interesting thing, but I think you don't look for a friendship and go, okay, Wallace, okay, he's perfect. He's got everything great. Now I can be vulnerable with him because he's perfect, and and I feel I'm perfect too. No, you go into it and you go, hey, we kind of like the same things. Hey, I like talking to you.
Yeah.
Hey, great. And then there's the tests, right? Just like there's tests. Well, there's tests of a friendship.
Sure.
Right? I mean, listen, we went out to a bar and I got into a fight, and I'm that guy that gets drunk and gets into crazy fights. You might say, you ever played that game Sims?
Yes.
Maybe I'm weird, but I look at people like that, right? Like anytime you have, and what I mean, let me explain before. There's like a little bar over their heads, and when you talk to them, it raises a little bit. I always found that fascinating because I think about, I don't physically see that, but I do think about that with relationships. When you have a good conversation with a friend, or you go do something with a friend or girlfriend, wife, husband. It doesn't matter. It's like the bar goes up, right? That the bank deposit was entered, and it was, and you go, okay, I trust that person a little bit more.
Well, that actually happens in your brain with the oxytocin release.
Of course.
You know, getting us.
And what is it? Vasopressin, right?
Yeah, yeah. But then you think about that bar. That's kind of funny because we're gonna have that soon when we start having like a Google Glasses is gonna turn into a Google Contacts, and then you're gonna have a read on somebody, and you're gonna have maybe the last 5 posts they talked about where they're talking.
Well, see, a lot of people think we'll do that. I don't think we will because it's too vulnerable.
But
it's too vulnerable.
But we have it right now. People are doing it right now.
But the difference is you can fake that.
But you can't fake someone looking up that information for free online right now while you go to the bathroom. Like, oh shit!
But I think that is distinctly human.
Yeah.
I just don't think it can be. I don't think it can be replicated by some sort of social media. I think we tried it. I mean, that's what Facebook is, right?
Relationship fuck nut. That's what it is. It's just,
well, it's supposed to be, hey, connection. It's a great idea, but the problem is we're liars.
Yeah.
The problem is we're afraid to be seen.
Yeah.
I mean, that it sounds crazy. I mean, and that's, dude. I mean, think about it. There's shit you have inside of your head that maybe isn't even that bad, but you don't want to tell people. Even your closest friends, there's things you do not want to tell people because you're afraid that you will be judged.
Certain filters, yeah, definitely.
Of course, yeah. I mean, you can call them whatever you want. I don't know. But back to the initial thing of relationships, I think it's interesting because, yeah, you're far from. You should be far from perfect when you enter a relationship. Part of a relationship is to grow, right? I mean, don't you feel that way from a guy that's not married?
Yeah. No, I mean, just thinking of going back to my idea of owning your singleness, owning your relationships, I think that both of them helped you grow and get better for the next step. I'm always about the progression, the human cycles, the cycles of nature. You know, you have a bad winter, you come back, you try it again next time. And then that really just, I think relationships, just like in life, are all about your failures. You need to learn what didn't work for you physically, mentally, environmentally, whatever it was, and then switch it up and change it and try to make it better. But I think the people that settle are what get me in relationships, because you know them too. You know the ones that are not happy. They shouldn't be in the relationship. It's abusive. It's dried. It's run its course. Whatever it is. Yeah. But they don't have the fucking. I was gonna say they don't have the balls to get out of it, but I can't say that anymore. They don't have the courage to leave that relationship because they're comfortable. And
you can say that.
That's so weird to me. Is the comfort of a relationship where people are not growing anymore.
But you know what's interesting to me?
Especially in your 30s. That's the weirdest thing.
I think that can happen to anyone. I really do. I don't... I think it's interesting you brought up comfort, because I think comfort is... It kind of goes back to our money and being a good person. Mm-hmm. Right? If you're just comfortable with who you are, and it doesn't mean you have to be uncomfortable with everything, but there are parts there's a lot of parts of me that I'm uncomfortable with, right? Like the way I handle things, the way I show emotions, the way I interact with people, the way I interact with my wife, the way I interact with my kids. Now, there's parts of those too that I like, but man, yeah, comfort is that weird thing, right? Because it gets you into this
plateau.
But it can happen to anyone.
It happens to everybody all the time.
Because you get to somewhere where it's like, I think we all have an addiction mentality in our heads on some level, right? Like not everyone's an alcoholic or a drug addict or something, but maybe addictions we're habitual.
That's a great word.
Yeah. I mean, which is an addiction. I mean, habitual doing something.
It's a human condition.
Yeah.
We're creatures of habit, as they say.
And here's the thing. I'd rather not have a difficult conversation. Mm-hmm. I'd rather not have, if I can put it off as long as I want, I'd rather not have that serious talk or that serious explanation or look stupid. So I think it can happen to anyone, but maybe that might be one-sided, because it's happened to me. I've been in terrible relationships, and I fucked up some, and some people have fucked up others on my end, and but I think the problem is most people don't look back and go, "Well, was I wrong at all?" And then they change, right?
Yeah.
Oh, that person was a bitch. And they move over, and now they either get farther or closer. It depends on the situation.
Yeah.
That's really because there's no self-actualization.
Yeah.
Because that sucks. It's hard.
If you've ever read the, what's that book? My God. I'll think of it later, but the concept is the character goes to a library later on in his life and laughs because nothing has changed within that library. The only thing that's changed is himself, and that's why it feels so different. And when you do get into that when you leave the god-awful teen phase, it does get better for anybody young that's listening. And you do enter the 20s, which is fucking awesome because you do change so much. The 30s is that weird time where, I think you kind of do, if you are single still, you do go back and think about the what ifs and what did I do wrong. And
maybe
I kind of did that to a certain extent on to get better because I was just trying to find somebody that really matched with me. And I went back and I said, well, why did this fail? What the fuck happened? Was it me? Was it this person? There's a lot of different factors, and hindsight's 20/20, as they say. You can't always get it right, but a lot of people are not willing to take off the mask, realize what the fuck happened, how did it happen, and really build on to the next one, because you do get stuck in the past, whether it's talking with your buddies and, oh, dude, you remember when you were dating the white buffalo, or whatever it is. That's old. That's the oldest thing that can happen is the past.
Well, it is interesting too, because I actually think that is where money helps.
Catcher in the Rye was the book.
Oh, okay.
Colin Huff, he goes to the library. Yeah, Catcher in the Rye, great book.
It is interesting though, because that is where money to me does help, right? I mean, the ability to be able to do something, to be able to reflect, but it can also not help, right? But that's it. It's just, I guess it's another excuse. I don't have money. I don't have time to do that. I'm working all day.
In relationships, where's the excuse? What are you talking about?
To look at yourself.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, to look at yourself. It's. Well, I don't have time for that. I'm busy. I'm doing this, and that's where money really does. Because I don't know. Look, I think sports athletes are like some of the best to look at, honestly, because they've been touted as this great thing, pretty much since a child. A lot, and some of them haven't, but a lot of them have. LeBron James at 10 was like told, "Hey, this kid's gonna be something."
Yeah.
Well, I mean, he went into the NBA at what, like 17, 18? Well, yeah, you have to be 18.
Right away.
But I mean, he probably could have played in the NBA at like 15. I mean, he was that talented.
Yeah.
But then it's like Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson, when he was the heavyweight champion of the world, was on fire. And he had people all around him and telling him he's great. And so, and he had money and he could do whatever it is and success. Well, I'm successful. I must be great. Right? I must be great. I know people like that make a ton of money and think they're great.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where I meant back to the good people thing, is money could be a curse, but it is interesting because it can help in this situation of the self-actualization. But I think the real reason people don't do it, and the real reason it took me so long to do it, is it sucks.
Well, the thing is,
it's hard.
There it is. And a lot of people don't like the in-between phase of going from... It's transition. And nobody likes fucking transition. Look at the...
uncomfortableness.
It is. And you're in a 4-year relationship, you're used to having that comfort, that plateau, all that good stuff. Where Friday night was your Netflix night or your Redbox night or whatever it was. And now you're alone. Now you're forced to actually look at yourself. It's almost as if, like, when you become single, you should just go into a float tank, which we should make a cast on that later.
Oh, we're going to do that.
Yeah, and you're forced to look at yourself in that float tank. And when you're single, that's exactly what it is, because whether you left somebody, most likely it was because of you, yourself, or somebody left you, is most likely because of you, yourself. And that transition is where you need to learn how to grow, and I think that people should take time in between relationships to get better, and don't, being kind of thinking about this 30 hill climbing thing, people don't do that because they'll just swipe next and figure that person was just an asshole and they got their next selection. But I took my time, from my last relationship to now, and it's been the best thing I've ever done. Probably in a long time, because I was able to come to terms with why something didn't work. and make myself fully ready for the next thing. And now it's explosions. And it's great because it's just, I took the time to realize why I was
and
at
that's
fault.
I've told you that before. I
Yeah.
mean, offcast that's a huge deal, you know. And
It's hard.
it's real hard. I didn't do it until I was married,
Yeah.
you know, and I didn't really take a look at the stuff I did, the way I dealt with things, who I thought I was versus who I really am.
Yeah. So you just changed on the fly is what they call it in hockey.
But you got to.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, but that's life, man. Life is
Fucking A.
life's a motherfucker. I mean, and you know, it's interesting though too because I've said that like 20 times in this cast because there's so many things.
What?
It's interesting, though too. You know, well, because there's so many things that can be thrown into this relationship because it, in fact, is what makes us very human. It's the only thing that really makes us human.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, it's how we interact with others and how we interact with ourselves and our ability to comprehend that.
Mm-hmm.
But even with you, let's take you for example. There's going to be something that you didn't plan and think about.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not to scare you.
No, that's what I like. I
It's
don't want
100%.
50 years planned, you know? Like
Well,
that's,
not
that's
even
a
50.
beautiful thing.
There's going to be something with your significant other that's you're going to go, oh, fuck. Didn't know that. Didn't plan for that.
Yeah.
Didn't see that. They changed. They changed the way they reacted to something that I thought that test didn't work. You know, faulty test.
Or bad data. I looked at it different at the time.
And the question is are you in a secure enough place to go, okay, it's not all that person.
Yeah.
It's me too. And
absolutely, man. I think it's hard enough to live in with another roommate. You know, at some point the ego does come in and we do get selfish by nature, but
100%.
But the issue is, you know, how do you share? How do you start living with someone else and you know, having a relationship? I think there's something to. I don't know if you've gotten into these phases in your life, but when you're like really on and things are really working out, you seem to be in this beautiful vibe of like a physical wave of something. And when your relationships are working out, when your significant other's working out, and your job's working out, it seems to be all connected.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you've ever gotten into those phases where you're absolutely destroying it. And then you've been in the phases where you know it's not working out because the group of friends is bad, the lady's bad now, the job isn't working out. There's like a beautiful symmetry that comes when you're open and you're in sync.
You know what's interesting?
Yeah,
I've said it again. Well, because there's so much here, man. I mean, this could be like 20. This could be like 20 or 30 casts on its own. And I heard this before, and I think it's just fantastic. Everything is what you're saying.
Uh-huh.
It's a matter of how you look at it.
Yeah.
And that some people, I don't know. If I heard that maybe 5 years ago, I'd say fuck that person. But when you really think about it, now there are some things that suck, right?
Yeah.
You get diagnosed with cancer. Someone else gets diagnosed with cancer or a very serious disease.
Lose a family member.
Member. Death. Yeah, death is a bad thing. But life is not a straight line, and that's one of the great things about life.
Yeah.
But when you realize that, I'm still not 100% there. I said that just now, but I don't wake up every day thinking that. I don't think it is good. I think you should want to wake up every day thinking that. And what I mean,
think you should wake up with a new, you know, we really have lost a carpe diem thing. And I don't know where we talked about this before, but, you know, people do take a lot of shit for granted. And I think health is one of them. And when you have something that actually happens to you, your shit changes. Talk about relationship changer is when you actually feel like this could be the last day. If you do wake up, like you're saying, and want to better or think differently, that's how, I mean, fuck, you need to change it up a lot. That's why I'm excited on this trip, because we're going to get out of a routine of a career and a normal life with friends and family and go and just be us. And that's awesome.
Yeah.
That is fucking awesome, because it's just the Jason Silva aspect of traveling, the Terrence McKenna where he talks about traveling is a psychedelic experience, is because you're taking all this stimuli from out of nowhere and it's brand new to you, and you're almost forced to see somebody else in a different light, see yourself in a different light. And fuck, if anybody travels in their 20s, I've traveled to people in my 20s, and it's very different. I've traveled to people in my teens, it's very different. But when you do it in your 30s, it's pretty awesome. It's just different. I wish I would go to school now, learn science, and use a better word than different for why when you're developed, things are just better.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe just because you are finally in the place where you should be. Is that it? I don't know. There's a lot of shit I don't know.
Well, I mean, here's the deal, man. No one knows anything. Some shit works for some people and some shit doesn't. And that's all this is. I mean, there's no manual for life. You know, I mean, there are guides. You know, whether you're religious, there's certain guides there. Bible, Quran, you know, stuff like that. That's a certain guide. But again, it's interpreted 1,000 different ways. It's the same thing with science.
Teach his own, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you know, you can take certain things that, you know, you could look at health and you could go, man, this is my vessel. You could look at it and go, this is my vessel for only a short period of time, so fuck it.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, and that's the thing. There's no right answer. And I actually think that's, though, too, somewhat of what fucks us. That the thing about, do you have to be perfect before you get into a relationship? No. Do you have to have the right answers before you do anything? No. And I don't know. That it's a great topic. I'm sure we're going to have other topics on this cast that are similar to this. Mm-hmm. But yeah, and I don't want to come across as, I don't want this cast to come across as two guys that have all the answers. I just think this is a vulnerable conversation that I do have some opinions on, and you definitely have some good opinions on, just from different life experiences. So
But I think we came to a nice conclusion together that, you know, being open in a relationship is just question. Not physically, but like being open and vulnerable is just the only way to go.
Why any relationship too.
Why even do the little lies? We're talking off cast about something in my situation where, what's the point of even lying about it? Because it could come up later. Just if you are on that same level, why not just keep the goddamn wavelengths going through? Keep talking. Keep on the same level as much as possible, because it's just how it should be.
Well, and this is another interesting documentary. I'm giving Netflix a lot of money. It's called Dishonesty.
Never heard of it. On
Netflix. Kind of one of those ones that's a little long, but you get the point pretty quick. It's a little bit in line with Peterson again.
Okay.
His somewhat of his belief that people will do pretty much anything that they believe the normal is doing. You know, he was kind of saying that if you were in Germany, you know, during the Third Reich, most people, if not all, would have no problem being a Nazi. They'd have a problem with it, but they really wouldn't say much, and they would have done it. They would have conformed to that concept.
Well, look at France too. People would turn in.
Oh yeah, of course. And this dishonesty thing is about most people will lie.
Yeah.
Most people, integrity, whether you're have high integrity, whether you have a great relationship, most people will lie. And it's once you lie, I mean, this is scientifically proven. It's pretty interesting. Once you lie, you're more prone to lie again to that same person. So if I lied to you about something small, next time, I mean, the next 100 times it could be small. Mm-hmm. But the fact that I lied to you about something small means that I'm 100% capable of lying to you about something big, which is pretty fascinating if you look at. Now, there's difference between, hey, do I look fat in this dress? That's not honesty. People call those white lies, but people also over-abuse the word white lie.
Yeah. And
they sometimes use that for exaggerations. And exaggerations are bullshit too. I mean, sometimes we naturally do an exaggeration, like, dude, it was the fucking biggest thing in the whole I've ever seen.
It makes stories awesome.
But that's a description word, right? Mm-hmm. But yeah, lying gets you in trouble, man.
Yeah.
And you're talking to a guy that lied a lot about shit. Every relationship.
Yeah. So just relationships, guys. Keep them open. Keep them honest.
Because you're lying to yourself too.
Growing. Yeah. Where are you going with it too? You know, like where.
Well, that's really where you're lying to. You're lying to yourself. Like, I'm afraid that. I mean, you almost think about every lie. I'm afraid that this is going to what, and that's what this thing is. Dishonesty says. Mm-hmm. The lie is because you're afraid that you're going to either, one, get a repercussion, two, someone's going to look at you differently, look at you stupid, not, whatever the situation is. You're not smart. You're not tough enough. You're not this. You're not quality person. Mm-hmm. And those are pretty much the reasons people lie.
Yeah.
Is to keep that from people. And the reality of it is that the majority of what you're lying about, yeah, it's going to cause a problem, but the problem already exists. You're just delaying the problem.
So there it is. Either they left you because of that problem, you're going to leave them because of that problem.
Somewhat,
you might
yeah.
as well fucking face it head on, right?
Well, I mean, it was something. It was similar to that. I'm probably doing a bad job of giving an analogy for that.
Yeah.
But I do think it's interesting because it goes into this whole topic and this whole podcast of relationships. So,
okay,
probably got to wrap this thing up. Great topic, great conversation, great podcast. Yeah, I mean, I'll just kind of leave you guys with this. I'd love to hear what other people's feedback is or what their climbs are with this.
With relationships, especially.
Man, well, there's just so many different things. If you think I'm wrong, you think, Wallace is wrong, let us know. I mean, I'm under the impression that there's no right and wrong. But I think, man, there's so much shit to be learned and so much shit to be understood and everything. So love to hear the feedback. Get us on iTunes. Subscribe if you can.
Review.
Yeah, and even if that review sucks, I don't care. Let's just see it.
1 star, 5 stars. We don't give a fuck. Just put it on there.
We're just, we said we're doing this because we're making this climb.
Yep. And
we're interested to see if other people are struggling with some of these same topics.
Yeah. We're active on Twitter, once again, at follow X and Z. Facebook, Instagram, Between X and Z. And once again, iTunes, you could just search Between X and Z podcast. It will come up. You can find it. Subscribe. It's pretty easy.
Awesome. So, again, this is Between X and Z. I am Dozer.
This is Wallace.
Keep climbing, guys. See ya.
Later.